Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me clearly. Can we just do a quick sound check? You can just type in the question box. You can hear me clearly. I appreciate that. Before we get going. Yes, great. Excellent. Well, welcome to our webinar on a Monday. We've got a guest speaker today. We've got Ronald King. He heads up our technical support services. So Ronald's going to go for his little presentation. And then, unfortunately, he has to run off to a FSB meeting. So if there's any questions, just try to hold them off to the end. Like we do with every webinar, this presentation is being recorded. So I'll be sending you the PDF as well as the recording tomorrow, those of you on this webinar. So I'm going to hand over to Ronald. Okay.
Good afternoon to all the listeners. I hope that you will find the next few minutes of value. The question that I would like to ask you all today is, are you ready for 2040? Now, that might sound a hell of a long way away, but unfortunately, time does fly. The interesting thing that we have found is that the only thing that makes life bearable is actually the fact that we do not know what tomorrow might bring. Now, if we start off with that, the question is, why are we then always so interested in the future? Why do we really want to spend so much of our effort trying to figure out what's going to happen in the future? Well, the answer to that is that's where we're going to spend the rest of our lives. Now, one of the interesting things is the speed with which change is currently happening. Every day, we are currently undertaking more research than we did in the whole of 1960. We send more mail when the post office is not on strike than in the whole of the 1970s. We make more phone calls today in one day than we did in the whole of 1980. We write more emails than in the whole of 1994. Send more text messages, SMSs, than in the entire year of 2001. And currently, we send more tweets in one day than in the whole of 2007, 2008, and 2009 together. Now, if that doesn't shock you on the speed, every second, 8 people joins Facebook. Every second, 9,100 tweets are sent. The most tweets that were sent in 1 second was 143,000 tweets that were sent. And at every moment in time, 70 million people is on Skype. Now, if we look at biotechnology, health, and medicine, it's clear that this will be the race of the 21st century, as the space race was for the previous century. We've got genome mapping and genetic engineering. That's currently the talk of the town. Pharmacogenomics, that is where they make medicine specifically to meet you. And I would just like to point out to all the listeners that most of the stuff that I'm talking about today are not far-fetched sci-fi dreams. Most of these things are very close to being put into financial production. Now, pharmacogenomics, for example, you can now go and you can have your genes tested, and they will tell you whether you will suit a Panado, a Disprin, or one of the other pain medications better. That way, they're trying to hope that in the future, we will be able to ensure that there's less side effects when you're using medication. And then, of course, there's a genetic selection of babies, embryo screening. Now, that's not so that all of you can have children that look as lovely as I do. That is actually for those people who have genetic disorders that they are afraid of transferring to their children. They will now be able to do the embryo screening and make sure that those embryos that they implant will not have any of those illnesses. Now, in 2030, the life expectancy will exceed 100. In actual fact, it already exceeds 100 in 9 countries in the world. By 2040, they believe the average life expectancy to be closer to 125. Now, if you say this is not me, let me just quickly show you what Sanlam's latest research shows about the current life expectancy in South Africa. If you are 65 years old and a man, you have a 50% chance of reaching the age of 85. If you're a woman, that is 89. Now, why do men die earlier than women? Well, because we want to. If you're, however, married at age 65, the life expectancy of you and your spouse, one of you, will reach the age of 94. There's in actual fact a 10% chance that either you or your spouse will reach the age of 106. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, till what age are you still currently doing your retirement planning? Are you doing it until the age of 80? Well, basically what we're telling you here is that if you are planning for a life expectancy shorter than 90 for the youngest of you and your spouse, you are definitely making a mistake with regards to retirement planning. Now let's quickly continue on biotechnology, health and medicine. Nanosurgery, those little small robots that they're going to send into your bloodstream like Pac-Man to eat up all the viruses, that is closer than you might think. Cloning, of course, the fact that you can make a reproduction of yourself. Now, it doesn't really work as well as I would have loved to, because at this stage the company pays me a third of my expected salary and they expect 3 people's work from me. So I've always hoped that I would be able to clone myself. But unfortunately, of course, if you clone yourself, you get a little baby, newborn baby. Now, cloning, therefore, to reproduce yourself won't work, but it would work for reproducing organs. So you might just have 3 Petri dishes full of extra livers for those lovely Johnny Walker labels that we would like so much. Stem cell research, of course, now increasing amazingly. The things that they can do now is becoming breathtaking. In about 10 years' time from now, they might just get it right to cure, if you want to call it cure, paraplegia. They will be able to reverse engineer and ensure that the damage to the vertebrae and the spine is healed through stem cell research. Of course, I've already spoken about the replacement organs. You will also be able to get an artificial organ that will be able to do exactly the same as your normal organs. Now, most of us have watched Terminator in our lives, and most of us are extremely concerned about the fact that computers are going to take over. I do not really believe that that is going to be our biggest risk. What is going to happen, of course, is cybernetics, cyborgs. Most of us will try and enhance ourselves by way of computer chips implanted in our bodies. They've already very far with brain-machine interface, where a brain can electronically manage a machine to tell the machine to go left, right, or do certain things. On the brain-computer interface, you will basically be able to put a chip in your mind and you will have the memories of a lovely Mauritius holiday without ever going to Mauritius yourself. Again, a sci-fi movie that was with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall, recently redone. Exactly those principles there. They are not far away from reproducing in actual world. Cryonics, well, that is freezing your mother-in-law and making your children's problem. That is a reality. It is currently possible to have yourself frozen for $200,000 US. When you, the expectation, of course, is that in a few years' time, when they find a cure for the illness that you have, they will just reawaken yourself, unfreeze yourself, put you in the microwave, defrost, and wake you up, cure you, and you would be able to live on. Now, if the $200,000 US is a little bit too much for you, you can take the special offer of $80,000. There they take your brain and brain stem, put that in a little bit of a liquid, and then when you wake up in 20 or 50 or 100 years' time, they will reimplant you in somebody else's body. All of these things currently already happening in the wonderful US of A. Now, if you think those things are weird, let's just talk a little bit about communication. In 2005, there was 1.5 billion cell phones in the world. That is now 6.9 billion. In actual fact, they believe that close on 98% of the world's population already has access to a cell phone. Now, the University of Southampton recently tested a fiber optic cable that sent data at 99.7% of the speed of light. That is 73.7 terabits per second, which basically means 1 million CDs per second, or 73 million CDs per second. The terabit is 1 million CDs per second. So you can see that the speed of internet is fast everywhere in the world except in South Africa. This, of course, means that we will have an always-on, always connected future. Add to this the nanotechnology that we spoke about, smart dust. That is that microchips will be so small and so cost-effective that it would be worked into everything. It would be worked into walls. It would be worked into the floor. It will tell you exactly what the temperature is outside. The world as we know it will change. Your fridge will talk to your shop. Now this fridge, I've been talking about this fridge for the past 10 years. I now understand it is now available in South Africa, where if your milk runs out, the shop will actually contact Woolworths or Pick n Pay and order the milk for you to be delivered at your house. So your fridge will talk to your shop will talk to your bank, and of course, like always, your bank will still not talk to you. Now, if you think this is a hoax, this is what has been launched in July last year by LG. They call it the LG Home Chat, and it's probably for those people that are not married and have a very alone life, because you can now talk to your LG appliances. You can talk to your fridge, your microwave, your washing machine, and your vacuum cleaner. So on this one here, the gentleman is saying, we will be going on a trip for 3 days. The washing machine says, have a nice trip. The microwave says, I'm going to miss you. And the fridge asks him whether he should switch over to vacation mode. He says yes. And the fridge then says, initiating smart power savings mode. The vacuum cleaner asks him, should we clean the rooms before you return home? All of this is already available. On the communication side, the question that you need to ask yourself is, how are you still communicating with your friends, with your family, with your clients? Are you using Skype? Do you still remember Mixit? Mixit has been and is past. Currently it's WhatsApp and WeChat. Are you using this? The youth of today has more friends than they've never met than actual friends. It's a scary thought, but it's the truth. The other day, my son of 16 was chatting to a friend of his on the phone, and I said to him, but who are you talking to? And he said, no, he's talking to Monique. And I said, but Monique lives around the corner. Why don't you go and visit her? He says, why? I don't have anything to say to her. Now, that is after he's already been chatting to her on the phone for more than half an hour. The one thing that we need to realize of this community is that it's a very, very close-knit community. There's total immediate trust, but there's banishment if you break that trust. And there's only entry to these communities through referral. A very, very important part. If you can get into one of these groups of your children, you would be amazed how openly they talk about things that will make your hair turn on. Now, this is in Afrikaans, but I do not know how many of you are able to read that. That is current WhatsApp chat between my son and his friend, copied from his cell phone last week. And in Afrikaans it says, wat doen jy? What are you doing? Ek lê op my bed en luister musiek. I'm lying on my bed and listening to music. En jy? And you? Now, most of you will actually be able to read this. And this is how they are communicating. This is how communication of the future is probably going to look. Yes, it's different, but is it necessarily wrong? Now, I've given you a little bit of a background in this past 14 minutes about how the world is going to look in 25 years from now. Most of these things will be old news. Most of these things will probably even have been replaced by newer things. We need to realize that life expectancy is going to be a hell of a long time. Yep, gentlemen, when you said I do at the age of 25, you didn't realize that until death do us part meant 100 years. Now, on the health and retirement side, you need to realize something. 50% of your medical expenses will be in your last 2 years. So if your medical expenses have suddenly been on the increase, you probably have very little time left. But this is going to be a huge expense in your estate. Additional provisions for health is a necessity. You need to realize that you won't be able to afford it out of your pension. Currently, the amount that you need to save just for your medical expenses after retirement is 1.3 million rand if you live until the age of 85. If we extend that to the age of 90, it is 1.5 million rand that you require after retirement, just for you and your spouse. Now, if you think that is bad, the long life expectancy that you have means that you cannot use any of the capital after retirement. In actual fact, you need to reinvest 6% of your growth every year. That is the only way that you can ensure that your money will be there when you pass away. And therefore, you can only draw the growth above inflation. What does that mean? Well, that basically means that for every 4,000 Rand that you require after retirement, you need 1,000,000 Rand. So in today's value, if you want 20,000 Rand per month, you will have had to have saved 5 million Rand. Anything below that, and I can tell you, you will have a severe problem to meet your needs after retirement. So 20,000 Rand a month, you need 5 million for that, plus 1.5 million for your medical expenses. You need 6.5 million Rand. With a few days left for this financial year, the question is, should I now do, or should I make a lump sum contribution to my retirement annuity for this tax year? And the answer is a definite yes. If we look at a post-tax investment, let's say you've already paid your tax, the money's been put into your bank account, and you now make a 1,000 Rand investment in a unit trust. 1,000 Rand a month for the next 15 years. There's no tax on the growth. There's no CGT while you're in the unit trust fund. And after 15 years, if we got a 12.5% return on a nice balanced portfolio, you will have about 524,000 Rand. The moment you withdraw it, of course, you will have to pay capital gains tax. The capital gains tax at the current tax rates, we believe those tax rates might just increase after the budget speech on Wednesday. But at this stage, your net value will be 478,000 Rand. That is, of course, assuming a 13.3% capital gains tax on the growth. Now, we are launching our tax savings, tax-free savings investment from the 1st of March. You'll be able to invest 30,000 Rand a year in a tax-free savings amount, but it's again with after-tax money. So the premium will be the same. There's no tax in the portfolio. After the 15 years, of course, exactly the same amount of money. But now when you withdraw, there's also no tax payable. So from the tax-free savings amount, you will definitely get a better return than you will be getting from your normal post-tax unit trust. However, if we look at a retirement annuity, we know that we can deduct the retirement annuity from our taxable income. You can actually go to your employer and ask him to readjust your tax deduction per month based on the retirement annuity contribution that you have made. That means that if you contribute 1,667 Rand, your net out-of-pocket premium is 1,000 Rand, because 40% tax on 1,667 is 667 Rand. So asking your employer to reduce your tax will be reduced with 667 Rand, and you will get the same out-of-pocket expense on this retirement annuity. The fund growth and the CGT is zero in this portfolio. So after a 15-year period, if we get the same return, which is now possible with the new retirement annuities, your return before tax will be 873,000 Rand. Now, given the tax that you will now pay will be considerably more than in any of the other cases, 247,000 Rand. But this is again proof that you shouldn't look at the tax alone when determining which investment is the best. Your question is, which one provides you the best net return after tax? And the net return of the retirement annuity is about 30% more than any of the other two. So it's very clear that a retirement annuity still provides the best return on your investment if you need the money in only 15 years' time from now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've told you that you need a considerable amount of money. How much do you need to save? Well, talk to your financial planner. There is, of course, at this stage, 1,300 different unit trust funds out there in which you would be able to invest. There's even more life funds out there. Choosing between them can be an absolute nightmare. Add to this all the life insurers, the medical schemes, the short-term insurers, and you will find that in PSG alone, we have access to 398 product providers, 1,286 products, and 4,100 funds. To try and go through this product universe on your own will be a complete nightmare, and that is why you need a good financial planner. Within PSG, all our financial planners have the support of my team, the technical support services. We have a product governance committee that goes through each and every one of those products to ensure that the products that lands up on your table is the best in the market. We have fund committees and portfolio committees selecting the best shares and the best unit trusts in the market. We've got a technical advisory services team that consists of 5 lawyers and 3 investment specialists that assist our financial planners. And then to ensure that the advice that they give you is correct, we have 17 compliance officers and 4 risk and credit officers to ensure that if anything goes wrong, you would be protected. And just for in case, we also have an additional 100 million rands of liability cover. That is how we ensure that you will be able to be one of the few people that are able to retire with sufficient money. Ensure that your future is in the hands of a company that has foresight about the future might hold, expertise on identifying your needs and matching it with suitable solutions, sound track record with specialist advisors, and backing, of course, from a listed company. It has been a pleasure to speak to each and every one of you. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Any questions? Yes, this presentation will be available for download. Sean will make it available as with all the other presentations. I see there's one that had a problem with sound. We do apologize that we couldn't assist you in that regard, but I hope that you will be able to download the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I do hope that you have a wonderful Monday afternoon, and do not forget to tune in next week for another interesting session with Sean van der Berg.